Hi guys, and welcome to our first virtual assembly. My youngest daughter thinks this is completely idiotic because who on earth is going to actually, go to an assembly that they're not forcibly being made to go to? But hey, she's wrong. I'm right. Here you are listening to me. There's the thing. Um, at this point, we all still look relatively human. I'm not sure we'll still be doing this in a few weeks' time when my hair has been cut by my wife or whatever. But I'm going to look like a complete scarecrow. But for now, here we go. Um, I'm going to do just a sort of little thought for the day sort of thing, like I like to do. And then Emma is going to do a mental health top tip, which is great. And then after that, year 12 are going to get a bit of Mr. Short talking to them about work, and a bit of Miss Isaac talking about progression. Year 13 are going to get a bit more of me talking about exam kind of stuff. So here's my kind of reflection on where we're at the moment, which is all very strange. I'm reading a book at the moment. I do like books, and this one is a really interesting one. It's called How the World Thinks by a guy called Julian Baggini, who is somebody who's been into Rector a few times. And it's really cool. And it gives you a really interesting way of just trying to step outside of the bubble of the way we think and the way that we will perceive things. And he looks all the way around the world at different cultures and the kind of concepts and ways in which they look at things. And in the situation we're in now, there's one thing that really struck me that relates to a particular sort of Japanese way of thinking. He refers to artists and musicians and uh, writers of poetry and so on in the Japanese tradition. And particularly, for example, he draws attention to a kind of a style of painting called enso, and a particular example of this, which is just a circle that's drawn in a single stroke and has two lines of calligraphy, and then just vast amounts of empty space. He talks about Japanese music often also having these big silences that are within it. Um, and he points out something which resonates quite strongly with me at the moment, that emptiness is something that we experience quite negatively in the West because our minds tend to naturally focus our attention on things. And he points out that in East Asia, there is a much more sort of natural focus on the spaces between things. He refers to a psychologist called Richard Nisbett who created a memory test, which he tried out on Americans and then on East Asians, and a very simple picture of a fish in a fish tank. And he sort of showed them it and then took it away and then showed them another one. And he asked them to notice the changes. And in the case of the Americans, they almost invariably noticed changes in the fish. But in the case of the East Asians, they far more commonly noticed changes in the background or in the sort of tank or in the wider space and environment. And that's not genetic. I mean, that's an entirely cultural thing. That's our sense. Our eye is drawn by the thing, and their eye is drawn by the space, and that's quite interesting. And I think in the West we are naturally and culturally, well, culturally not naturally, just uncomfortable. I think with empty spaces of time or empty spaces of space. We tend to want to fill them, and we feel quite uncomfortable if we can't. Um, East Asian cultures, in particular, don't see the emptiness as a void, as something that's got to be filled. They see it as something which connects. They see it very much as the space between things. The Japanese term for this is ma, which I can't pronounce or indeed write. Um, and there's a Japanese word for a person called ningen. And the two parts of that word refer to the concept of human and this concept of betweenness. Who we are is not sort of some inner essential self that you just got to dig really deep in and find. Um, it is defined by our relationships to others and our connections to others. And so, even when we feel most fragile, who we are is still the child of our parents, the friend of our friends, the member of the sixth form community. All of these networks are connections, are holding you. They're supporting you even when you don't see them and feel them. You're never alone in this. Even when you think it, even when the streets are empty, the spaces between you and others are kind of full of love. They're full of thoughts reaching out to you and holding you. And I just wanted to sort of say, as you kind of sit there in your room and whatever, doing the things, thinking the thoughts that you're thinking, um, you need to reflect on the fact that this sort of emptiness that we experience around us at the moment, it's not an emptiness. It is a connecting space. You're still so connected to us. You're so still in our thoughts and in our hearts. And if you're feeling that fragility at the moment, then reaching out towards you is a whole load of goodwill that is going to hold you and carry you through this. So there you go. Wise thought for the day. Read a book if you feel like sort of digging more deeply into that. I'm going to cut out now and hand over to Emma, who will say something else wise and profound.
Hi guys, welcome to my house. This is where I've been for days now. So thought I'd do a little good mental health tip to send out with the virtual assembly, just to keep in touch with you guys. Just so you know, we're all still thinking about you and hoping that you're all okay and being sensible and looking after yourselves. We want to see you all back at school when we're all back together again. And also we're all around. So if you're emailing or I'm available on email or Facebook or any of those things, you can get in touch just to, if you've got any worries or you fancy a chat, that's fine, get in touch. But in terms of our good mental health tip for this week, it's all about social media. Obviously, social media is really useful in lots of ways. So this week, I've been checking out what's happening in the world of Instagram with all the dogs that I follow and the home decorators. A little insight into my Instagram following, but also using things like Zoom and FaceTime and WhatsApp to contact friends and be in touch with people, which has been really important for my mental health, to stay in touch and to be able to chat. But also, I have been really aware that I am limiting my access to things like Facebook because there's a lot of people on there with a lot of opinions, there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of like actual news that's a bit sad that I don't think it's helpful at this time for me to fill my brain with lots of things like that, because actually I can just then go over and over and over it in my head, and that's not good. So my top tips for this week about social media are: one, find the ones that are really useful to you and help you stay in touch. Those are really good things. Two, try and just limit your use of ones that are probably a bit more negative. Don't read people's opinions. If things are factual, that's fine, but try and limit even that a little bit. Think carefully about what is going into your brain at this time. Also, don't touch your face. See what I'm doing here? And try and limit what's going into your brain so that you are filling your head with good stuff as well as factual information about what's going on with the virus, etc. And thirdly, use social media to be kind, to look after one another, to like put good stuff out there in the world. If you're doing that, if you are like posting things, make sure that they are positive and kind and responsive and responsible and useful. Let's make social media a useful and kind thing for the world. Good plan. Let's do that. And also, don't forget to get in touch if you need to. Bye.
Back to me again. Got rid of all those year 12s now, just talking to the year 13s now. And a quick, just final thought around the exam stuff. Uh, in one sense, I've got nothing additional to say beyond what I've already said in emails, but I know sometimes people just need to hear it and then hear it and said a different way. We still genuinely don't know what process they'll put in place, but I want to reassure you of a number of things. I am pretty confident that the guidance that will eventually come through to us from the exam boards and the government will give teachers discretion to use the whole of the information that we have available and the whole of the knowledge that we have. And trust us that we're going to do that as positively and fairly as we can. And I think this partly because I really don't think that the government wants in 3 months' time for the newspapers to be full and social media to be full of students complaining about how terribly unfair this all was and how their futures have been dashed by the COVID virus. So they've set up a process which I think we at this stage can have good reason to trust will carry through reasonably fairly. The other thing that they've done is put in place a lot of safeguards for you. And if the system doesn't allow us to do for you what you hope that it will, then they've put in place this appeals process. And things that we possibly can't say in the first stage of the process when we're just asked for a grade, we certainly can say, and so can you when it comes to an appeals process. And we would work with you really closely on that to make sure that if we felt there was a good basis for an appeal, drawing attention to your circumstances or your kind of wider trajectory of study, or particular work that you've done that was amazing, or your GCSE profile, or whatever, we would help you put together the strongest possible appeal. And then, secondly, beyond that, they've put in place an opportunity for a test to be done at some stage in the future. If you think none of this has delivered the goods and you still just want the opportunity to show them how good you are, then you will get a chance to show them that. So you've basically got 3 cracks at this to hopefully end up with the grade that you deserve and think you deserve. They have also encouraged the universities to look very generously and sympathetically at applicants this year. And on top of that, this is the year with the absolutely smallest 18-year-old cohort that there has ever been, and the universities are going to be desperate to fill those spaces, and also they're going to want to remove uncertainty as well. They want to be able to plan for the people they've got, and plan the accommodation and do all of those things, so they're not going to want to leave things hanging either. So I can't promise anything, and please don't hit me over the head if later this doesn't quite come out perfectly for you. But I think there's reasons to believe. I honestly do. And so what we're asking you to do at the moment is just to keep doing the normal work that your teachers are sending you to do. You don't have to try and sort of show how marvelous you are by flooding them with things. That's a pressure you don't want to put on yourself. I don't want to put on other people. Teachers don't need. You really can just do the things you're being asked to do and do them, to the best of your ability. And we hope through one of these processes that will be something that we can then use to evidence the qualities that we think you've got. All right, so just give it your best shot, try and decompress, and stay with us and trust for now. All right, bye bye. See you next week.